Welcome to the Eye on Foxborough podcast. I'm Karen Guregian, and I'm thrilled to have three-time Super Bowl champion, 10-time Pro Bowler, and 13-time team captain Matthew Slater with me. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Karen. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, upon your retirement, I spoke to a couple of the coaches on the staff. And I think Ivan Fears might have summed you up the best. He called you the Tom Brady of special teams, but more importantly, he said you were the fabric of the team. And, how important was it for you, to kind of be that guy in the locker room, the
Uh,
fabric, so to speak?
that's very kind of Ivan to say. I think for me, I always approach my role, my job with a ton of gratitude, and I was just thankful to be there, thankful to be doing something that I love, thankful to be doing it with people that I love, and I just wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be for that football team, not just on the field but off the field. Trying to help the men and women around me be successful and be proud of what we were doing. So, however I could serve, however I could connect with people, whatever that looked like, I tried my best to do it.
I'm not sure it's hit you yet, but how is retirement treating you? I know you have four kids who are probably glad to see dad around a little more, although this is probably the time that you would be around a little more. So is it a hard adjustment to,
Mm.
what the future holds for
Yeah,
you as a retired guy?
yeah, it is it's an adjustment, it's a transition, and I think there are a lot of things that football brought into my life now that aren't there. The number one thing I think of is the structure that it provided. Not a linear path forward, but a pretty clear path forward. Okay, I got to do this during this month. I had to do that during that month. So I do miss that. And then, certainly I miss being around the guys. I think that's what I'll miss the most moving forward is just the relationships, the camaraderie. But like I said, I'm enjoying time with my family. This is a special time. My kids are young, so it's a great opportunity for me to connect and be a dad and be a partner with my wife and running our home. So I'm thrilled about that. And you might see one of those kids running here at some point. So you never know.
That'd be awesome, actually. Um, I was just at the owners' meetings, and we get to sit and chat with the coaches. Uh, two two players from your draft class and former Patriots are current coaches, Gerard Mayo being one, and Kevin O'Connell being the other. Uh, Kevin O'Connell actually hinted that there might be a third in the coaching ranks. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's where you're headed, but do you have any interest in that? Or, I mean, I see you in so many different ways, but perhaps even a chaplain type of person who might be involved with a team.
Well, what I've learned, Karen, is to never say never. I think for the longest time there were certain things I said I'd never do, and sometimes you make plans and God laughs and He has other plans for your life. So I'm not going to say I'll never coach. It's not something that I'm actively seeking out is to be a coach, but I do love the game of football and I love pouring into men, and I think coaching football gives you an opportunity to do that. You mentioned those two guys. I'm so proud of who they are and what they've become professionally, but most importantly, the men that they are outside of football. And I'll always be a fan of both of those guys. But I think I'll leave the coaching to them for now. I'm trying to be careful as I consider what to do next, keeping my family, in mind with every decision that I make.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd make an awesome coach, but the time commitment is something else entirely,
Yeah.
especially for someone with a young family like yourself. So, I'm sure you'll be pondering that over time.
Yes.
Speaking of Gerard, my goodness, he has a huge undertaking going forward, whether it's following a legend in Coach Belichick, but also trying to kind of resurrect a team that's kind of got, hit the bottom last year, a 4-13 team. How do you think Gerard will be equipped to handle all that lies ahead, in his first venture as a head coach?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it. It is a very challenging situation that he's in. Um, anytime you replace a figure like Coach Belichick in any arena, it's going to be difficult. And then, obviously we struggled to produce on the field last year. But, I think Gerard has tremendous leadership skills. One of his greatest strengths is his ability to cultivate relationships and earn the trust of people around him. So I'm sure he's going to lean upon that. I think he's equipped with both his playing experience, his experience outside of football, and then his experience as an assistant coach. They've all well equipped him to handle this role, and I'm excited to see how things go. They're going to be ups and downs. That's part of the process. And you talk about trying to reestablish and rebuild. It's a process, and I think Gerard understands that. And I think God has gifted him to really be able to navigate this time. So I can't wait to see how it goes.
Mm. I listened to you recently, a day or two ago. You were on a podcast with your old roommate, Julian Edelman. First off, um, way back when I first found out that you two were roommates outside of the office, I'm going, God, what an odd couple that is. Um, but watching you two guys interact, there's nothing odd about it. I mean, you two seem to have a really great friendship and relationship as two former teammates.
Yeah, it was really special to be able to do that with him. We had a ton of fun, and you know, I think everyone when they hear about our living situation has the same response and reaction that you did. They can't believe it. They don't understand how it worked. And I always tell people, Julian and I are very different people. We see the world very differently, but we've always been able to find common ground in our relationship. And I think that a lot of that is built on trust and respect. And, I love him like family. And I'm thankful for that time that we had together. It was much needed. I needed support. I needed to feel like I had some home and some roots here, and that was before I got married. So he was my family here, and we were bonded through our unique struggle and grind in the game of football. And we had some really cool experiences together. Went through some highs and lows. But I'm so thankful for him and his friendship, and that's something that's going to last us a lifetime.
Mm. Another person who I think you kind of consider family in a fatherly way, kind of next to your father, was Coach Belichick. And as we all know, the recent Dynasty docuseries came out, 10 parts. You were included in several of the episodes, including the ones down the stretch. I know several of your former teammates and have come out and said Coach Belichick, they didn't think it was a fair portrayal of him. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes, I certainly share in that sentiment. Look, here's the challenging thing about a project like this. I think now stepping away from it, we have to understand that when we volunteered or to participate in this project, that the directors and editors, their goal is to create a product that people are going to engage with, talk about, and so on and so forth. And when you let someone else tell your story, you're kind of at the mercy of, all right, what they're going to do to get people to subscribe and watch, right? And the unfortunate part about that is you don't get a chance to give context to everything that's discussed in the that series, right? So for us, there's so many parts and so many ins and outs about our experience as players, our experience as coaches, our experience as whoever you may be, whatever your role was. There's so many details that we don't get a chance to discuss, and we don't get to control the narrative or the scope of the project, right? So clearly, I think for many of us, our hope was that we would be able to kind of celebrate, right, what happened in the last 20 years. We wanted it to be a celebration, or at least I speak for myself in saying I wanted it to be a celebration. And when you get in there are a number of things that happened over the last 20 years that were very challenging, and different people are going to view that differently. And the directors, producers, they decided to take a certain route, and I think it portrayed Coach in a way that was very unfair. And I say that because people are very complex, and Coach's journey in football was very complex. It wasn't black and white, and they tried to paint a picture. I said this on Julian's podcast: paint a picture of who Coach was, but they didn't really show us the whole canvas. They just showed us a small slice of it, and that was very disappointing. So, look, I'm not mad at anyone. I understand that they had a job to do. It's unfortunate that they decided to take the route that they did, but people are talking about it, and I'm sure that's what they wanted. But I think for us who are personally involved in it, we're a little disappointed.
Yeah, I'm sure you've gotten, you've heard, feedback. There was one comment, of course, that they highlighted that you made, and believing that Coach Belichick was a bit hypocritical, with his support of Donald Trump, and I'm sure that's how that was the feeling at the time, and you were conveying that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. That was interesting how they kind of grabbed that quote and grabbed Devin's quote and started an episode out. Look, I'm a person, and you know me well enough. I do not care where you fall politically. I don't care who you support. I don't care if it's coach or one of my teammates. Like, people are gonna see differently. See politics differently.
yep.
The point I was making was it brought in, I guess, extra scrutiny to our team. Extra conversations and questions with the media, extra conversations and dialogue within the locker room, and that's something that we always tried to avoid. So in that situation, I didn't see it eye to eye with Coach, and I handled it, and I stand by that. But again, people have to understand that when you're in a relationship with someone, when you work with someone, it's not black and white. Like, it's not like we're holding hands, skipping through life, agreeing with everything that someone does or says. My wife and I can tell you that. My kids can tell you that. That's life. So, they grabbed that comment, and I'm sure people interpreted that as, oh, well, Slater doesn't like Belichick, or he harbors animosity. I'm talking about one isolated situation that I had an opinion on. They asked my opinion. I gave my opinion, but it's unfortunate because I spent 2 days interviewing, and I said more positive things about Bill than I could imagine, and of course they didn't use any of that. So that
Yeah.
goes, their objective and their scope. So
I'm curious, were you and Devin as captains able to discuss that at all with Bill, or your objections, or how that kind of played out in the locker room? Because you said he might have not, had his finger on the pulse of that particular situation.
yeah, look, I think so much changed from the time we came in to where we are now in the league. When you came into this league, the old, shut up and play motto was very very much alive and well. And I think there was a transitional period where guys became more aware. They wanted to be more involved. They wanted to use their voices. They wanted to express their opinions more. And, I think that was kind of in that transitional season. So, we had some dialogue with coach at different times. I think that dialogue progressed as time went along. But I don't remember having a specific conversation with coach about that particular incident. I can't speak for Devin. I don't know if he did or not.
Mm. One of the takeaways I had, in trying to, like you said, I mean, they kind of focused on all the negative things that happened, Spygate, Deflategate, Aaron Hernandez, Malcolm Butler, on and on and on and on and on. But I see like a common thread, and I think the thing that's most remarkable is how well you guys were able to deal with adversity and still win football games and still win Super Bowls. If you were to put your finger on one reason or one of the reasons why you guys were able to constantly overcome all that adversity, what would you say?
Well, look, a big part of that is you have to give credit to coach. I mean, he had a unique ability to guide us through that noise, those obstacles, and keep us focused on the task at hand. And that speaks volumes to his leadership and his ability to focus his players, motivate his players, and then, get the best out of us. And then, you can't say enough about the character of the men in those lockers. When we were going through those times and we were dealing with those challenges, there are so many high character men. Who carried themselves with a great deal of integrity, had great perspective on not just football, but on life, and showed great resolve. And, you can't talk about all of them because there's 53 guys on a team every year. You like to highlight some of them, like the Bradys, the Gronk, the Brewskis, the Rabels, the Edelmans, and so on and so forth. But almost to the man, everybody in there had a great deal of character, and I think that carried us through those adverse times.
I'm guessing that you will, even in retirement, still kind of keep in touch with, what the league is doing specifically with special teams plays, one being the kickoff. As I said, I was just at the owners' meetings and they came up with yet another rule change for kickoffs. I'm pretty sure that the way it's going to be now is something that they tried out or used in the XFL, but then they they abandoned it. Anyway, under these new rules, a kicker will still be kicking off from the 35-yard line, but instead of having his teammates flanked around him to head down the field, the rest of the group will be lined up ahead at the opponent's 40-yard line. So there's no running head start. The return team will have two returners, and the rest of the team will be faced off with the opposing team around the 30 or 35-yard line. No one can move until the returner touches the ball or the ball hits the ground. How do you see this one playing out?
I mean, this drastically changes the. I mean, it's not even. I don't know that I would still call it a kickoff anymore.
I call it radical, but go ahead.
Here's how I view this. Obviously, the football purist in me is a little bit disappointed in where this play has gone and what's become of it. But I do understand that there are several people working hard to preserve two things: player safety and health, which is always going to be paramount, and then preserve the play itself. I mean, you look at kickoff last year, most of the time we were just running wind sprints down the field and nobody was returning the ball. So I do think this gives us an opportunity to keep the play around. I'm going to be watching like everybody else to see how it turns out, how it changes the play, how guys approach it. How do returns increase, which I'm sure that they will, and does it make for a more exciting product and a safer product? So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to reserve judgment for now, and we'll see how it plays out.
I know you're, speaking of special teamers, I know you're a fan of Brendan Schooler, and I'm wondering if you've kind of passed the baton to him going forward to kind of be the special team stalwart.
Yeah, well, I feel so fortunate to have spent 2 years with him. I tell him all the time. I feel very blessed that I was able to play long enough to stick around and be there with him. I tried to be very intentional about pouring into him and getting him to see, first of all, how good he is, but then, what his impact can be on the locker room, the culture. And he's going to do it in his own way. He's his own man. He understands who he is, who his strengths are. So I hope that torch has been passed, and I think he's going to take it even higher than where I was able to take it. And, I look forward to that.
Last week or the week before, I had another one of your former teammates on, Rob Gronkowski, join me, and that was a treat, you might imagine.
He's
Uh,
the
he, we were actually talking about the upcoming Patriots Hall ceremony for Tom, and Rob was really excited, well, about being there, but also being able to reunite with his former teammates, in the good time that you'll have. Are you looking forward to that in the same way?
Yeah, I am. It's always special when you're able to reconnect with those guys and see them, and hear how their lives are doing since they've transitioned out, and it's special. I mean, we went through something really special together, a lot of us, and we experienced a great amount of success, but we did life together, more importantly. So anytime we can reconnect and get together, it's a blessing. So we're looking forward to celebrating Tom, but we're also looking forward to just being with one another.
You hung in there though to the very end. I forget the imagery you portrayed it as. Tom left, abandoned you guys, and Julian retired, and you were like Atlas, still holding up the holding up the ship. How tough was that? For you to kind of, have your the end of your career kind of end on that 4-13 note.
Yeah, it was challenging. I use the analogy I went down the Titanic when
That's right.
but that was an honor for me, honestly. Coach Belichick is a man that I have so much respect for, and it was an honor to keep fighting with him until the end. It was tough after having experienced so much success the first 12 years of my career. The last four were very challenging, but that's football and that's life. I mean, there's going to be adversity, there's going to be struggle. And I think my perspective was, look, I'm at that time, I'm 33, 34, 35 years old, and I'm still playing football. How blessed am I to be doing something that I've loved since I was a child, to be working alongside men that I love and I really care for. So I really had no complaints. Obviously, we wanted to win. We wanted to be more successful. But I think when you look big picture, I was still very blessed to be doing what I was doing. And, it was an honor for me to be a part of it.
Actually, what you said on Julian's podcast is like you were like the violin player in the band. The ship's going down and you're still playing the violin.
That's right. Play it till you play it anymore. So I felt like I played it until the end. So
Well, you did. And I knew I'd get you to laugh almost as close as good as you laughed on Julian's podcast. Um, a final thought, along with, Tom having the ceremony, he's embarking on a new career as an analyst for Fox. Will you watch just to hear how he does, and will you critique him?
I will watch every game that I can that he's calling. I don't know that I'll critique him. I love seeing my friends work in media. There's so many of them out there now, and I think they all do a great job. And I think they're all, different in their own ways. They all have different styles. So, I'll be watching. I'm sure plenty of people will be critiquing. But one thing I know about Tom, he's not going to venture into anything without being prepared and committed to it. So I know he'll be prepared. He'll be ready to go, and I'm sure he'll do a great job.
Actually, Gronk felt hurt because I think he's the only guy in the business that Tom hasn't consulted.
I'm sure Rob can give him some good insight. So I'm sure at some point they'll talk about it.
How about you? Do you have any interest in that area?
No, no, that's not for me. I like to kind of remain silent, especially especially after recent events. I think I'm gonna go somewhere and be quiet for a while. But I enjoy just being a fan of the game. I don't like critiquing players. I don't like critiquing coaches because I know how hard their job is, and I enjoy anonymity. So you're not going to hear much from me in retirement. I'm going to enjoy my family and enjoy the game of football as a fan.
Well, I believe that someday down the road, you will follow Tom into the Patriots Hall of Fame, and you and Gronk and Julian will be together again in red jackets. I wish I could promise you the Pro Football Hall of Fame because I'm among those who believe you belong there too with your dad.
Very
Uh,
kind.
uh, do you have any thoughts, or is that just something that's just out of your control? So it's hard, you don't think about it.
No, I don't spend any time thinking about that. It's still pretty crazy to me that you would even ask me that question. So, um, whatever my place in the history of the game is, it is. I did everything I could to represent the good Lord, my family, and our organization the best way that I could. And if the people that love me are proud of me, then I can feel good about what I did. And I felt like I was a good steward of my opportunity. So I'm just thankful for my whole experience.
Well, in closing, I'm sure, your teammates will feel the void, your void, not being there. But I have to say too, as a member of the media, I will feel the void of not having you there, kind of as a sounding board of the team, or talk to you about the conscience or things that are happening. And for people who don't know, like Matthew was always available. You were always available to us. You always gave us time. And that was very much appreciated. I really enjoyed our chats at your locker, and I will personally miss that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I will miss that as well. It was a joy working with you all those years, and I appreciate your integrity and the way you cover the game. So keep being one of the good ones.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you for spending the time on our Ion Foxborough podcast. All the
No,
best to you.
thank you so much. Take care.